these men will sit here and hinder your growth because they don't want you to do better than them. I'm gonna tell you straight the fuck up who I am, what I want, and how to get me those things so I can be happy. Because if you really had standards, if you had that self-esteem, you would know that you don't deserve that and you would go find something better. You guys are horny, lustful, basically still teenagers, and all you care about is sex. So take sex out of the relationship. What are you gonna have? Nothing. She gonna tell him, yes, I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you as long as it takes. Please don't fucking say that shit to me because I just got secondhand embarrassment. Don't ever tell a man that you will wait for him. Huh? And that's what we see a lot of women do, giving up their whole lives for a man just for him to turn around, backstab her, and betray her. But that's your man, right? You gonna stick beside him, right? There is none of that reciprocity when it comes to a relationship. A man thinks that he can buy you a cheap ass $25 meal and think that he deserves your pussy for that.
No such thing as a life that's better than yours. Left yours. No such thing as a life that's better than yours. No such thing, no such thing.
Jumbo everyone, welcome back. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about is having a boyfriend embarrassing, and all relationships are transactional in some way. So without further ado, let's get started. So I recently read the Vogue article on is having a boyfriend embarrassing, and with going through that, it kind of confirmed everything that I've been talking about on my channel thus far. I've made a lot of videos pertaining to relationships, safe sex talks, and controversial opinions regarding men and relationships. I have been happily single. I know that's so hard to believe that women can be happily single, but I've been happily single for going on 4 years, and throughout those 4 years with being abstinent, making all those videos, I have seen a lot, and that's exactly what I want to talk about in this video. So kind of just like looking back on the series and the sagas that I've had on relationships, a couple of videos that come to mind is can we just be ourselves, why being horny is dangerous, why I'm abstinent, the normalization of unprotected fornication, and just that conglomerate of videos that I've been making. Also, your partner is a reflection of you, because in those videos I talk about how men bring down women a lot and can also ruin the image that women have built up for themselves. So in this video, I really wanted to talk about why it can seem embarrassing to even have a boyfriend in today's age and where that stigma is kind of coming from. I think with the men in today's age, I see why a lot of people are not dating, and this is why I think they need to go on punishment. We see the 4B movement happening, we need to do the exact same, and I think that's kind of the cultural shift that's happening. From a TikTok that I saw of the creator slash author of the article, she's basically saying that a lot of people are starting to now break up with their partners, more specifically women breaking up with their boyfriends and realizing their worth.
For British Vogue, I wrote this piece is having a boyfriend embarrassing now. I know people have been the headline, they're like, nah, nah. But listen, for this piece, I interviewed a bunch of women. I spoke to them about why they hide their partners on social media, or they like post very inconspicuously about them. You know, some people said it was about privacy and this sort of unique, special privacy that you only afford your romantic partner. A lot of people spoke about the evil eye and this idea that, oh, if I post my partner, then people who are jealous of me will somehow, through their terrible vibes, ruin my relationship. Some people said that they felt as if they were scared to post because what happens when someone comes to them as a woman, or what happens when they break up and they have to, you know, delete all the posts, and there's this whole feeling of like shame of having tried and failed to find love. And then there was a really interesting point that came across both people in relationships and single people, and this idea that like being in a relationship with a man and showcasing it to the world in and of itself was an embarrassing thing to do. And that's what I really wanted to get into. There was this idea of there not being a solidarity with other women. There was this idea of like a relationship just by default being something that rendered you quite uncool. I spoke about this podcast I came across where they were talking about, is it lame to have a boyfriend? And they say, you know, when I meet a girl and she has a boyfriend, I automatically just kind of put her in a box or in a category, and I just don't feel as inspired or engaged by her. And then when someone doesn't, I feel like they have so much life and prospect and they are just entertaining and fun, and I kind of feel empowered by their individualism. But interestingly, the girls talking about this on the podcast, agreeing with this idea that like girls without boyfriends are cool, are also in relationships themselves. And so I was thinking so much about how it is very uncool to be a boyfriend girl. It is very uncool to be a my man person. And I spoke to both just people who are on social, but also content creators and influencers about what happens when they post their partners, right? A lot of them lose a lot of followers, especially if they were already single. And this idea that now you are someone's girlfriend and you're posting about this, it's something that people automatically disengage from. I do it too. If I follow someone because they, I don't know, post their outfits and all of a sudden it's their boyfriend every day, I'm just like mute. I came here for a reason. But this is happening like across the board, and like just culturally, I think a lot of like the days of a man being a prize has really changed. It's really, really, really changed. And obviously this has come from like just the empowerment of single women in general, but also just how the trajectory of men and women are going in completely opposite directions. And now we're having to look at heterosexuality with the political lens that we've looked at other sexualities. And we really have to evaluate, if we are a part of this thing, what does it mean? And so it's a really interesting piece. I think people should go and read it and should go and check it out. And I've also found the backlash to it. You know, I think a lot of women in relationships will say, well, you know, I hate all men apart from my man. He is a feminist and he is a this and he is a that, and I shouldn't feel embarrassed and blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, I think we have to be honest with ourselves. If people want to scream like, men are trash, I hate all men, men are trash, I hate all men, and then you shack up with a man and you're like, but not my man though, and someone says that's embarrassing, this is the culture that we've created and we fostered, right? And so I think a lot of people want to have their pie and eat it too. When there's nothing wrong with that, but I just think as we become a lot more critical of heterosexuality, I just think you can't sit comfortably in that anymore, which I personally think is a good thing, because it means that we are like deepening heterosexuality. We're thinking so much more critically about what it is we're engaging in, and we're being conscious about our choices, which I think is important. But yeah, go and read the piece. Sorry to drone on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Shout out to everyone that made it to the end of this video.
This is what I've been trying to shake out of y'all for so long, because I'm trying to tell you that if you can accomplish everything without a man, why wouldn't he be doing anything to benefit your life? You know what I mean? This is also where I want to talk about the concept of transactional relationships and why it's important to see things for deeper than they actually are. Everything is transactional. And I know that that word in connotation with relationships has the bad connotation, because it's like, well, if you're going to be in a relationship and you only want this, this, and this out of a man, and you're not giving anything back to him, then why would he want to be in the relationship with you in the first place? And it's like, yes, I can understand where you're coming from. At the same time, we are in 2025 going on 2026. Women can open up their own bank accounts. Women don't have to rely on men anymore for financials. And that's why it's like, well, yeah, if I can go and make my own money, why would I rely on you for anything else? It's almost like I, as a woman who already kind of knows my place in the patriarchy, with being a man, you already have the advantage over me. So of course I'm gonna want someone who has a little bit more than me and can benefit my life. Now in 2025, aka the modern ages, back then women kind of had to be in a relationship with men to secure their future, to be able to raise their children. Now women can raise their children on their own. They don't have to rely on a man anymore.
I was on live today and a guy asked, why are relationships so transactional now? What happened to just being in love? No shade or hate to that guy, because I understand why like women having demands for romantic relationships now can be very jarring, because just a generation ago, women did not have access to education, were not able to join the workforce, couldn't open their own bank accounts in the same way that our current generation can. But the thing is that all relationships are transactional, in the sense that a transaction involves an exchange between two people. And when people say like transactional relationships, and the connotation is like people who just want something from you at your expense, that's actually just one type of transaction, okay? So you have party A and party B. The three different types of transactions are party A wins, party B loses, or party A and B come to a win-win situation, or party A loses and party B wins, right? In the past, romantic relationships between men and women were not on equal footing, okay? So it was characterized or sold to women as a win-win situation, because women were already disadvantaged. They didn't have access to education. They couldn't open a bank account. They couldn't buy their own property, couldn't get their own job. So a man would be able to provide these things, and then the woman would have to provide domestic labor, emotional labor, intimate physical labor, etc. That was the nature of this exchange, right? So women are disadvantaged, men have an advantage, and then you sort of have to try to create the illusion of a win-win situation. But now women and men, they're not equal, but women now have more access to education. They have more control and autonomy and agency over their finances, over their body in some regions in the world. So if you're going to be in a romantic relationship with a man, then now a woman is saying, well, how are you going to benefit my life? If I don't need you for those economic things, then are you going to be capable emotionally to support me the way that I can support you? If at any point I have to risk my life to become pregnant, will you be able to also support me in that way? Because before, women relied on men for financial resources to raise children. Now, a lot of women can actually raise children on their own. You're in a relationship, you have to contribute financially to it, and you also have to do most of the child caring and all the childbearing. So what's in it for women now if it's almost equal economically when you're in these romantic relationships with men? Societally, it's not equal, okay? Men and women are not equal in society, but on a person-to-person relationship, there are a lot more women now that are asking, well, what do I get out of this, okay? It's not win-win if I can make my own money, but then I'm spending or losing the ability to maintain my finances being in a relationship with you because I become emotionally, physically depleted as a result. So my personal worldview or understanding of relationships is that all relationships are transactional, okay? And I seek win-win relationships, whether that is family, work, friendship, or romantic. Win-win in the sense that we're hot and having fun and we facilitate being hot and having fun for each other together in whichever context that is, okay? Win-win when it comes to work. I'm making money, you're making money. This is a somewhat equitable exchange. In friendship, we are able to mutually support each other in our life journey, parallel to each other. And, being together is more fun than being alone, okay? I don't want to be in a situation with anybody if I'm not getting anything out of it, okay? If it's my expense to facilitate your needs, not interested. And the same goes for romantic relationships too, okay? If we're not together and having a better time than if I was by myself, no bueno, okay?
And this is where, yes, I can say that the feminist movement had a really big part in it, telling women that they can do it on their own. And then depending on what president was in power, that's where we can see the shift now of, a Republican is in office. Obviously, we see kind of the shift going back towards that trad culture and women should stay at home and do the domestic labor. But then that's where a lot of trad wives are coming out and being like, do not become a trad wife because it's not worth it. A lot of women are sold this dream that if they find a man, get married, have his kids, and, just be the perfect housewife, that they're not going to have to do anything. And for a lot of people, yes, that is a true story. At the same time, it's like, what are you going to do if that man up and leaves you with nothing? Because you have been a stay-at-home mom who has no education, no financial literacy, because a lot of these situations happen while the woman is young. And so take Ballerina Farm, for example. That girl went to, where was it? Juilliard, I think was the school. Whatever school it is, super good for dancing. She literally had to drop out because she got pregnant by a man. These men will sit here and hinder your growth because they don't want you to do better than them. But like I was saying, in the concept of relationships being transactional, everybody wants something out of someone, and that's just a natural human reaction. You can try to deny it as much as you want, but I'm honest here. We know that with being in some type of relationship, if it's a friendship, a situationship, or a humiliationship, but that's for another video, or even just siblings or family, we want something out of someone, whether that is connection, affection, attention, I know all that rhymed, or money. We are around people for a reason. And that's where it's also I talk about, make sure that you really look at the people that you want to surround yourself with, because if you are friends with a pick-me, you will start to notice that your tendencies start to become more pick-me-ish and you start caring more about what men think. And that's where it's I can't be friends with women who are pick-me's, because I'm going to tell you straight the fuck up, I don't care about that man. Break up with him and move on with your life, because he was already draining you. And if you aren't glowing, benefiting anything from a relationship, why are you in it in the first place?
Having a boyfriend is embarrassing if you chose the wrong partner. And this is coming from somebody who is literally coming up on their 5-year anniversary with their partner next week. This conversation is literally not about hating men. It's about accountability. It's about realizing that the man is not the prize. This also isn't about women realizing that we're self-sufficient. We've always had that power. It's just not settling or trading that for proximity and companionship again, with a man. I always tell my friends and family that I am a girl with a boyfriend. I am not a girlfriend, because I am a whole individual with my own life, my own friends, my own hobbies, my own experiences. And so does my boyfriend. We are two whole individuals who are coming together because we add value into each other's lives. I am fully self-sufficient. I do not need a man in any aspect. I can solely provide for myself. So I run a strict program, and I knew before getting into a relationship, if you did not add an immense amount of value and peace and prosperity to my life, I wasn't going to be in a relationship. If your boyfriend is not making things lighter and making them heavier, you shouldn't be in a relationship. And I feel like that's where people are kind of missing the mark. They're like, I don't know what Vogue's talking about, like I'm happy here, yada yada yada. It's just like, if your boyfriend is a good boyfriend, he's a good boyfriend. But what we're not going to do is settle for the bare minimum out of the sake of having a boyfriend, because again, it's not anything to be put on a pedestal now. And we all know people who are in relationships who just settle for the bare minimum because they don't want to be alone, or, oh, that's just how guys are. And it's just like, that's not the case. My world does not revolve around him. It's aligned with him. So yeah, having a boyfriend can be embarrassing, especially when they diminish you, deplete your value, and contribute nothing to your life. All I'm saying is you can coexist with individuality, but only when both parties are adding value.
And this is where a lot of people come for me, and where I've said so many of the times, like, if you're not benefiting anything from a relationship, you are losing out. And this is where people can look down on sex workers because, you know, they're getting money for things that they're doing for free. And it's kind of like they value being in a relationship and having that status of being in a relationship, and looking down on sex workers and be like, well, you're getting it for money. And then the sex workers are looking at them and being like, well, you're doing free labor and giving free sex. So really, who is benefiting on top of still having to pay 50% of the bills, still having to do domestic labor around the house, cook, clean? No. So that's where it's like with me, and looking at the transactionality, I don't know if that's a word, but with that and seeing, okay, what can I get out of it? Obviously that looks extremely selfish, but that's just how I look at it, and that's how I'm gonna say it straight the fuck up. Do you want me to be a conniving bitch and do things behind your back and go about things in a way that are not ethical to who I am? No. I'm gonna tell you straight the fuck up who I am, what I want, and how to get me those things so I can be happy. And then in return, you do the same thing. Like, hello. It's been proven statistically that women suffer more being in relationships. Women stress more. They die earlier from being in relationships with men who aren't doing anything to benefit them. If you are living your best soft life, this video is not for you. I'm talking about the people who think that relationships aren't transactional. They look at women who are mad at women for wanting more in relationships, and then they're ruining it for us.
Thoughts on Vogue article, having a boyfriend is embarrassing. It is embarrassing this day and age, girl. What's out there now, it is embarrassing because they don't know how to act and they're stupid. Now, if they're an older man, they probably won't be your boyfriend long. They'll probably give you a ring, you'll be fiance or wife. But these dudes out here having girlfriends for 10 plus years, that's just pathetic. And plus, you're calling a man a boy. So that tells you a lot right there. Don't claim him if he's not claiming you 100% and paying all them bills and you ain't clocking in no more. Don't claim him. That's just your friend. Y'all need to start getting comfortable with calling these dudes your friends and not claiming them if they're not doing the most. I'm serious. They don't love you enough to make you a wife. They don't have enough money to provide in order for you to be a wife. So why are you even claiming them? Why are you taking yourself off the market? It is embarrassing for women, especially when you are being faithful to someone that has very low potential, can't do nothing for you, gonna keep you waiting on a ring for half your life, and then not even be able to do much for you. Like, it is embarrassing. Get you a man that can do the most, and he'll probably claim you. You only have to use the word boyfriend, darling. Unless you're in college, unless you're young, that's understandable. But I'm talking about grown women that are doing the most and still claiming some boyfriend. Because if he ain't doing nothing, he's friend.
A really good example that I can use from this is with interpreting. I know the point is way over here, but I promise you we're going to come back to this, okay? So what I mean, and how is this a connection with interpreting, is rates. Interpreters have rates. So with starting off, I can start off my rate from anywhere from $25 to $35 an hour. But if you're an interpreter just starting off and you're just trying to take any job that gives you that money, you're going to accept a job that has a rate of $18 an hour, which then you are screwing over all the other interpreters who use a $25 to $30 rate, because now you're willing to accept this work for $18 an hour and all of our rates are $20, and you're messing up the game for us instead of coming with us and charging the same rate, so then everybody can get the same rate, if not more, and more can be negotiated. But if you keep lowering yourself and being like, oh, it's okay, I'll take the $18 rate, knowing that the rate is usually $25 and up, you're messing it up for everyone else. So that is where I'm coming back to the point. If you keep degrading yourself yourself. If you keep staying in these relationships, showing these men that their actions are okay, you are ruining it for the rest of the women who have standards. And yes, you don't have standards if you sit there and you allow a man to bring you down. Because if you really had standards, if you had that self-esteem, you would know that you don't deserve that and you would go find something better. So another part within the article they talked about is the status of being in a relationship. And this is where I feel like in this day and age, we don't give a fuck if you got a boyfriend. Nobody cares if you have a boyfriend. And it's almost like people look down on you if you have a boyfriend and if you're complaining about him at the same time. So that's where it's like, if you have a boyfriend, yes, you are in your right mind to be able to complain about him, because relationships aren't lovey-dovey. Something that I saw where it said healthy long-term relationships are boring. They are mundane, and they're supposed to be like that. They're not supposed to be crazy and all out and everything of that sorts. And that's where sometimes I think that people's expectations of people, especially with social media, can really warp what a relationship is supposed to look like, especially a healthy dynamic at that. In this case, the status of being in a relationship, it's like women, especially women who have a large following of women, can also be disappointed when they find out that their favorite woman creator has a boyfriend. And then also when their content becomes boyfriendified. I'm just making shit up as I go. But I saw a term somewhere that was basically saying that like when a woman gets in a relationship who's a content creator, a lot of her content turns into relationships. And this is again another really niche example, but like if you've been on the internet and chronically online for as long as I have, you'll understand where I'm coming from. Danielle Cohn. That girl showed what it was like, especially at a young age, to profit off of being in a relationship, even if the relationship wasn't legal. So in this case, this is where I'm talking about where a lot of women, they think like, oh, well, I'm in a relationship, a man picked me, and other women who don't give a fuck or value themselves and love themselves more are looking at you like, girl, we don't give a fuck if you're in a relationship. You complain about him every goddamn day. Maybe, hear me out. If you were pouring that energy into yourself, you wouldn't be complaining about a man who isn't doing anything for you. And I think that's where someone like myself who has high self-esteem, who knows my worth, who knows not to be in situations that aren't going to benefit me anymore, can leave a job at the snap of a finger because I don't tolerate disrespect. So that's where it's like being in a relationship. If I'm not benefiting anything, and especially, like I said so many of the times, take sex off of the table, what is the foundation of your relationship? Exactly. You guys are horny, lustful, basically still teenagers, and all you care about is sex. So take sex out of the relationship. What are you gonna have? Nothing. Do you even know this person? No, because you fucked on the first date. That's all you guys do. You have small talk. You're like, I mean, I guess we get along, so we can get in a relationship. And then what do you have after that? 5 years down the line, you look and you're like, I'm in the same spot that I was 5 years ago because the status of a man was so important and being in a relationship was so important, instead of actually being able to find yourself, know who you are, and know, is this a relationship that is going to benefit me come the near future? If not, then there's no reason why you should be in it in the first place. I've seen women pick up their entire lives for a man, move across the country for a man, just to have him dog her out. Then she got to go back crawling home. Or because she already signed a lease, or because she already, like I said, picked up her life to go chase after a man, she now has to stay there for a year, isolated, no friends, because he isolated her, because that's a lot of the times what will happen. And now you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs like, like, yes, it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend. I'm currently on season 2 of Scandal, and watching Fitz and Olivia, them niggas stress me out, okay? But watching their relationship, especially, like I said, I'm on season 2, so don't go and spoil it for me, but watching how he's sitting there begging her, wait for me, I'm gonna get a divorce, begging her to wait. Then she's like, I don't know, I'll think about it. Then when she finally comes to, her senses, she tells Edison, no, I don't want to be in a relationship. She goes to the funeral. She gonna tell him, yes, I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you as long as it takes. Please don't fucking say that shit to me, because I just got secondhand embarrassment. Don't ever tell a man that you will wait for him. Huh? No! And then as soon as she says that, he's like, the fuck? No! Because he found out what she did. And now he's like, I don't trust you. Get the fuck away from me. I don't want a relationship with you. Shoo. And then they have this weird toxic ass relationship. And another reason why I'm bringing Scandal up is because Melly literally was like, I built him up. I showed him who he could be. I gave up my law career for this man, for him to be president. And that's what we see a lot of women do, giving up their whole lives for a man just for him to turn around, backstab her, and betray her. But that's your man, right? You gonna stick beside him, right? We are in 2025. This is not the 1960s anymore. You don't need a man to rely rely on your future. Women, it's actually like low-key proven that women are going so much further without a man. And this is why I see women being child-free too. Because like I talked about in my baby mama video, Culture in Your 20s, men love to trap women. They see that you're on your come up and they will trap you with a baby. So that's where I'm also like, it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend. And that's exactly where I'm talking about baby mama culture in your 20s with no ring. Because these men are showing you that they can give you a literal child, which, excuse me for being traditional, but that you should wait for and have two loving parents who are married and in a relationship and showing that they're going to be there for, you know, whatever. And I know that people are going to come at me. My parents hated each other when they were together and whatever. At least your parents were married and together and had the idea of we want to raise our children under a two-parent household. But nowadays, women can do a lot of these things on their own. And I'm not promoting women being single mothers. What I am saying though is that we have the means to do a lot of what we couldn't do back then. We can do it now. So that's where it's like, I don't need you if you aren't going to benefit my life. Like I said earlier, you already have the advantage of being a man. You are already on top. So is it really so bad for me to want to expect more out of you being a man who already has an upper hand in the system? Come on. And this is where I'm talking about the transactional aspect of being in a relationship. I know all the Dusties are going to be mad like, oh my God, all she wants is money, you gold digging ass bitch. Yes. Is it so bad for me to say that I want financial stability and security before getting into a relationship? Because if I'm already going to take time out of the things that I want to do to be around a man, he has to be benefiting me in some type of way. I'm sorry. And this is where I'm talking about the transactionality. You are in a relationship, men get in a relationship with women for clout, vice versa. There are so many avenues of what transactionality looks like that you guys are just thinking it's all about the money. No, it's about love, affection. People, humans want to be in a relationship for some type of aspect, and that is transactional. Person one, person two. Hey, I want a friendship. Hey, me too. Boom. Now y'all are friends because you both have a common agreement of I want attention, I want attention, I want somebody to listen to me. Okay, me too. Boom, we're friends. I also need women to start being more stingy with their vaginas. Yes, because y'all are out here willy-nilly just giving it to any man knowing that you could easily get pregnant, die from pregnancy. He could give you an incurable STD, or hear me out, fuck up your pH balance, and you're still with him. You're still excusing his behavior. Like, this is why it's embarrassing to be with a man. And don't get me wrong, I've said so many times, if I've swung that way, I would be with a woman, but I'm unfortunately straight. And I know I'm gay in the face because of the piercings that I have. That's the label that's been put on me, but I am straight. Unfortunately, I gotta deal with these men. Like, why do I have to be attracted to men? Like, you think I'm not struggling out here? Who doesn't want to grow with a man? Be that power couple. Both come up together. But there is none of that reciprocity when it comes to a relationship. A man thinks that he can buy you a cheap ass $25 meal and think that he deserves your pussy for that. No, thank you. No, thank you. It takes a lot more than that. Some bills being paid, because I need to see straight the fuck up that you can actually provide and take care of the lifestyle that I want to maintain, if not elevate. So you being broke and you being like, I can't do that, then why are you in my circle to begin with? You should be around people who almost like make you want to be a better person. That makes you want to brag on them, like not even on some money shit, but like on how much you admire being their friend. And with all this pick-me-sha-ness and going after men, chasing after men instead of chasing after your goals, I don't need to be around that. So if you want to have your boyfriend, if you want to look down on your friend because they're single and they choose not to allow a man to want them to rip their fucking hair out because you're begging for the bare minimum in hell right now, I don't need to deal with it. I am someone who knows their worth. I'm also someone who has been single for going on 4 years. It's really not that hard for me to be lonely in order for me to focus on myself and work on my goals. When I'm up there living lavish, yeah, maybe if I want a man to entertain me, but like I said, I need to get in those rooms first before I start demanding those things, and that requires me focusing on myself. That last bar kind of ate. Let me reiterate it. In order for me to expect these things out of men to get in those types of rooms, I have to focus on myself and put that energy into myself to get in those rooms in the first place, to then be warranted of expecting those things. We need to start punishing men for acting out. If you aren't acting right, you can't get into here. Sorry. No, we need to start acting acting like, do you have a wristband? And the wristband is given only when men are acting right. So if you don't got a wristband, you can't get in. And I'm sick of women accepting the bare minimum from men because, like I said about the whole rates thing earlier, because you're accepting the bare minimum from men look at us women with standards like we're fucking crazy because we expect more out of them. I don't know what else to say. So yes, having a boyfriend is embarrassing, and when y'all see me pop out with a man, there's gonna be damn near a ring on this finger because I'm not playing around. Don't come in my life if you're gonna waste my fucking time. Thank you very much. Men aren't lonely enough. They need to be punished more, and until they realize that women make the world go round, and to, you know, finally be able to understand the capability that we have, especially if y'all haven't read The Power of the Pussy, that book, that means you need to stop just giving it up for free. If you really want to get what you want, use that to your advantage at least. Anyways, I think that I've yapped enough. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, y'all.